My name is Phazhon Nash, and I'm running for Roanoke City Council.
And if you could give us a bit of your background, not in terms of like council stuff, but just like, your background of who you are.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Roanoke, born at community, and I grew up here. I went to Roanoke City Public Schools for a little bit, and then when they shut down Huff Lane, now it's like a Mexican restaurant and a hotel there. When they shut that school down and transitioned us over to Round Hill, my mother didn't think that was the best, and so she moved me and my sister over to Roanoke County, and so I did the rest of my, fifth through 12 schooling in Roanoke County. Um, I graduated from Northside in 2018. I was very active in the community, in my church, in Boy Scouts. And when I graduated, I went to George Mason University. And I went in with the plan to be a doctor, but anatomy is a lot harder than I thought it was. And so I ended up transitioning to community health and really fell in love with it. Because what I wanted to do as a doctor, I realized I could be more effective at accomplishing that working in community health and in healthcare, besides being a doctor. And so I came back home, got an internship at Carillion, became more involved in my community again because I had been away, at college for a few years. So I came back, got involved with the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board, the Roanoke City Democratic Committee. I moved in with my grandmother full time and started, being a caregiver for her because she was aging, dementia, Alzheimer's, kidney disease. And so I was living with her for 2 years and just involved in the community. And her house is right beside Evan Springs. and and now I'm running for city council.
Excellent. Let's talk about that. Why do you want to serve Roanoke as a city council member?
I think that at the end of the day, I've always wanted to help people. My first career I wanted to be was a cop. And I wanted to be a cop up until I was in 10th grade. Then when my aunt passed away from colon cancer, I wanted to be a doctor, an oncologist. I wanted to help people. And then I realized I could be more effective and create more long-lasting change working in community health and making communities healthier, safer, and happier. And so with Carillion, I get to accomplish that. But to be able to do that from the council perspective, because I see so many of the issues going on. I spent time with Delegate Sam Rasul as his community outreach liaison, and I would hear all these issues that citizens had, all these struggles they were facing. And I would be like, oh, well, why don't we try this? Or we could do that. Or, oh, I heard of a city that did this. And it's like, what can I do about it? And so that's, really the big motivating force. And then Evan Springs was kind of the last, like, okay, I'm gonna run because the people need a councilman that cares. And not to say that I feel like, our current council members don't care about the people, but the people don't feel like council cares about them. And so I was like, the people need someone that they feel like cares, listens, respects them, and is going to work with them to get some of this progress we need done.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk policy priorities. If you're elected, what's one of the first actions you would push for city council to take?
One of the first actions, immediately speaking, would be the process of appointing a city manager. If that's not done by the time we get there, if it's done already by the time we get there, I'm transitioning my focus to funding in our budget because that's, right in the peak of kind of budget season. And so I'm ensuring that we're putting the proper funding towards some of these programs to help prepare us for the following summer coming up when it comes to park and rec and providing programs and school, after school activities and summer programs for the youth.
Let's talk more about the budget. Our next question. A main priority of council is overseeing a roughly $380 billion annual budget, as you know. What do you want to see happen with the city's budget over your 4-year term?
You know, over my 4-year term, I think that I would love to see, number one, the budget be well maintained and grow very organically, um, because I'm an expensive campaign. I want to focus on infrastructure, fixing roads, exploring new technologies to make our streets safer. And so my campaign is expensive, but um, I want to definitely grow our budget. I want to make sure that we're, like I said, investing in our infrastructure, so that, we're being fiscally responsible, because inflation's real. The cheapest time to do something is now. In 3 years, concrete's going to be more expensive. The price to pay someone to do the work is going to be more expensive. And so for a lot of these infrastructural projects that are going to be multi-million-dollar projects, we need to go ahead and get started on those as soon as possible. So I would, focus on finding ways to grow the budget, but then allocating funds towards infrastructural improvements.
When you say growing the budget, tax increases or?
No, no, God, no, no. Business development. There's a lot of avenues that we can explore to help um, increase our budget. I'm not a huge like, oh, tourism, tourism, tourism. I feel like too many people can get focused on tourists and they forget about the citizens that live here 365 days a year. Um, but making sure that um, you know, we have a decent food and beverage tax, right? Going to the General Assembly and not being afraid to ask for certain taxes on, lodging, or all these little taxes that we can benefit from. So yeah, but not taxes.
Um, Roanoke's residential neighborhoods remain highly racially segregated. What role should city government play in dismantling that legacy?
Yeah. I think one aspect of the zoning that I like, there's aspects of the new zoning that I don't agree with. But being on the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board, these are the kind of issues in our city that we were tasked with trying to solve. And so we have members that are specifically working on neighborhood choice. But from my council seat, we really just have to create affordable places where people of all types can live, and then be very, what's the word? I guess, very, very observant to make sure landlords and developers are, not having any type of exclusionary rules in place that stop people, from being able to stay there, making sure that they're following the Fair Housing Act, making sure that all the current kind of protections we have in place are actually in effect.
Um, you're on record opposing current policies that ended exclusively single-family zoning. What's your solution to encouraging the development of more affordable housing?
Yeah. One of the big things that I came across in talking to developers and people that own current properties is the process to be able to get started and get it built is long. There's a lot of red tape, and it's expensive. And one thing that I did not understand, because I don't work in construction or development or building or anything like that, but from the time they acquire the land, they're incurring cost, because most of the time they go out and they take out a loan, or they're getting the money from somewhere, so they have an interest rate, they have to make that payment back, so on and so forth. And so I feel like us exploring avenues of, potentially giving, it said, hey, instead of, you having to pay X amount of dollars to acquire this lot, we'll give it to you. We'll help you cut through some of the red tape to get some of these permits, or whatever sort of paperwork you need to be filed, help cut through the red tape to get that done in a quick manner. I believe that exploring those type of avenues will allow them to have the type of freedom and the type of quickness to be able to get these projects started and to help keep their costs low.
How would you work to implement the city's climate action plan, or do you disagree with its recommendations?
No, no. I think that a lot of times and this is really not even a reflection on the city, but a lot of times things can be done because, you know, everyone will sit in the room and say, oh, we need to do this. And so they go do the work, they put it in place, but then there's no action taken to make it happen. But when people say, oh, you're not environmentally friendly, you're not environmentally conscious, they always point to, oh, we got a climate action plan, or we have, you know, agencies be like, oh, we have a DEI plan. But it's like, what has happened from that plan? And so luckily we have Terry McGuire, but you know, I think we really just have to pull the plan out in a metaphoric way, pull the plan out and really just take actions on making some of the promises and goals of it happen. You know, when it comes to solar energy specifically is what I'm mainly interested in because of the cost saving benefit for the city on some of our city buildings like libraries, the bus station, so on and so forth, City Hall. So yeah.
This question is unique to you, and we've spoken a bit about this before. You may be tired of hearing, you know, sort of the context, but you are 25, is that correct?
Yeah, I am.
Which would make you, I believe you would be the youngest person elected to Roanoke City Council since at least the 19th century and possibly ever in history. What would you say to voters who, you know, maybe they like what you say, but they think, you know, maybe he needs more life experience, or why not, you know, in another 4 years?
Yeah. You know, I would say to those voters that would question the experience to be on city council, most of the time, no one who runs for city council has experience being a politician or being on city council or really an elected official on any level. You have people that might be, you know, several decades into a particular career field, and they've acquired skills and knowledge that they can then translate onto city council. And I feel that I can do the same with my 25 years of lived experience in Roanoke City, and my degree in community health, global health, and American government, in the knowledge I've been able to gain from Delegate Rasul, working for him as his community outreach liaison. And so I would tell the people, you know, to just trust me, trust the process, because Cardinal News, I know I might be bringing up a competitor, but I'm just joking. But Cardinal News released the article, and I think you have too in the past, about the population loss. And the biggest demographic that's leaving are between like 18 and like 30 or 35. And so I'm like, I'm that demographic. I know why they're leaving. Most of them or some of them are my friends that grew up here, and they're like, man, I'm out.
Why are they leaving?
Well, if you grow up in Roanoke, and we're probably straying away from the question you just asked, but if you grow up in Roanoke, at some point you say to yourself, your friends, it's boring here. There's nothing to do. And until you hit the age of 21 in Roanoke, that changes. You know, when I was growing up, I feel weird saying that 'cause I'm still kind of young, but when I was, you know, younger in high school, specifically like between like 18 and 20, you know, we had the hookah lounge downtown Roanoke. And that was a spot where a lot of us between 18 and 21 that couldn't go to any of the bars or any of the other places, that's where we went. And this was back when, you know, you didn't have to be 21 to use tobacco in Virginia. But when they changed that law, that shut down. And I agree with you being 21 to use tobacco. But we have nothing for youth to do. We have nothing for kids under 18. And when you get to the stage of life like we're in, where you're like 25, 30, 35, you start thinking about the next 40 years, the next 30 years. You start thinking about, what does my life look like here? What does my career growth look like? How are the schools for my children? How is that life going to be for me and my partner? You know, are we going to be able to find a home that fits our budget? In a neighborhood, speaking about the segregated neighborhoods, you know, in a neighborhood that's high quality. And so I think me being in that demographic, me, myself personally, with my girlfriend, us thinking about the next decade, the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I am in that position of those individuals that are leaving our city. And so I'm able to bring that lived experience and bring that connectiveness of my generation to council to help advocate for certain business development that needs to occur, certain developments and investments in our entertainment industry here in the city, and try to bring some different entertainment into the city than what we usually have, specifically at the Berglund Center, and making sure that we're bringing in good, solid careers and not jobs. I always tell people there's a difference between a career and a job. A job is you work 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, you get your check, you go home. A career is a place where you work for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, retire, and you have a retirement package, you have benefits, you have life insurance through that company. They add a real benefit to your life. And so making sure that we have good, solid employers that are going to pay high, fair wages to our citizens. Those are some of the avenues we need to do to keep younger people here. Mm-hmm. So I know I got long-winded.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I only have a couple maybe more fun questions for you.
Okay.
You're going out to dinner in Roanoke. Name just one place. Where do you go?
One place? Benny's.
Benny's? Downtown?
Benny's. Yeah. 3 slices of pizza.
What kind?
Cheese. Cheese. Eat 2 there, take 1 home. Eat it later.
And what books are on your nightstand? What are you reading?
So right now, I have my girlfriend got me, it's a Kobe picture book, and it has a bunch of, I forget what the title of it is, but it's like the life of something Kobe Bryant, but it has a bunch of quotes and pictures of Kobe Bryant, a lot of behind the scenes pictures of him, Achilles rehab when he tore his Achilles, him playing with his daughters. And so, that's something that I've really kind of had, beside my nightstand, because I really admire Kobe Bryant. And then Meditations as well as a book that I've been spending some time looking through and reading. Meditations by Marcus, I'm going to mess his last name up. Aurelius is one that I've kind of, just because of the campaign and it's so, so many variables. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy sometimes, trying to have that kind of stoic outlook towards it to handle the stress. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Great. Well, you handled the stress great. That's all I have for you.